Welcome everybody to the Indian Hills Parent Group meeting. My name is Alicia Emanuel and I have an 8th grader at Indian Hills and then also a junior at Valley. I am, like I said, the 8th grade chair, and then we have some members of the CPI on here as well. Elizabeth Larson is the 7th grade chair and Mary Williamson is the secretary this year. Shannon Crownover is the treasurer. And Stacy Artikov is the outgoing 8th grade chair, or the past 8th grade chair. And then Rebecca Reed is the volunteer coordinator. So, and then we also have some other committee members. If you have any questions about the Indian Hills CPI, I am happy to take those, but mostly our organization helps support the students and staff of Indian Hills. And so we help with fundraising and just fully to support the school and have a great relationship with the administration team and the teachers at Indian Hills, and just work everything we can do to help make Indian Hills a really awesome school. Thanks so much for joining us. And we just have a couple housekeeping things and then we'll turn it over to our speakers for today. The first thing I wanted to have was give you a fundraising update. So Stacy Artikov or Zach, I'm hoping one of you will speak to our fundraiser. And then I don't have the total in front of me, but I can get it as you're speaking.
Yeah, we did really well. I think on the website, I think we reached about a number about 26, which 26,000, which is, a little above what we need. We certainly aren't going to be wasteful with any of that. That's a good, healthy number to have in our account, and allows us to do some things, maybe a little extra. And as all the messages said, our activities are pretty much self-funded, and other than coaches' salaries, everything that we do is self-sustained through this fundraising effort. Try not to do too many things, try not to make it too fancy. Just a couple of reminders, sometimes via text, sometimes via email, a couple of opportunities to advertise in the community at varsity football and at some of our events and concerts. And, just try to keep it simple. And we have a little reward lunch here for the 2 winning teams on Fusion and Inspire on Monday. And Stacy's been doing a lot of hard work with that, and I appreciate all of that. But I think just keeping it simple, and really the big benefit of how we've done it is we're not paying a lot of overhead to a fundraising company. We're keeping the bulk of that. I think it's a 3% cut is all, thanks to Alicia's negotiating power. And, it's been, I think, pretty successful. So, I get a lot of tips from people, parents, staff members on things we can do better. And all of those, I do try to listen to and be open to. But the simplistic approach to me has been less intrusive to our school environment, and also just more straightforward and to the point of what we need. And I think most of the time parents appreciate that approach as opposed to kind of more gimmicky type things. Stacy, anything to add?
Oh, I just think it was a huge success, and thanks to all the parents for donating. It was definitely awesome to see all the support.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks to all of you who participated and just getting the word out. And, I think our electronic mode of communication is easily shareable, and hopefully, we get some grandparents out of state that can still contribute and don't need to buy a Hershey bar or whatever else that gets sold out throughout the community. So hopefully people appreciate it. I'm always up for listening and how to do things better. And can make some small adjustments, but I've liked how this has gone the last couple of years.
Great, thank you so much. And the total on the website is $26,344 is what it says right now. So awesome, thank you. And then I'm going to stick with Zach and have him give you an overview of tomorrow's Toys for Tigers event, and then also the Season of Giving collection that are at our concerts in December.
Yeah, you bet. We're kind of in what we call the season of giving here at Indian Hills around our two breaks, Thanksgiving and winter. We have partnered with Clive Community Services with the Feed the Pod event for this week, as you've seen. I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit maybe more about that. Is that another topic, Alicia?
No, so if you want to cover that, or
yeah,
somebody else wants to, Shane too.
That's a kind of a big kickoff event, is just partnering with Clive Community Services, getting their shelves stocked for the holiday and winter season. And we're off to a really good start with that. We've had a lot of cash donations, check donations, and food donations, and we will load that pot up here tomorrow. The season of giving winter concerts, what we've always done is we don't charge for our concerts, but we've had some free will donations. And what we do in the winter time is use that to take care of students predominantly in our Indian Hills, either feeder program or in our school, for families in need around the holiday season. We also partner with YJI, Friends of YJI. They have a holiday giving drive. Right now, they're serving about 165 students, I believe, was what the email said. And some of our students in their program, many of which have some financial assistance required to get through the winter months in holiday season. And so we will look for students in need. Lindsay and Joe, our counselors, have a good tab on some families that need some help during this time of year. We do some collecting at the winter concerts, and anything left we donate to YJI's holiday campaign, which goes right back to families in our school district, no matter if they're at Indian Hills or Stillwell or South Windsor Valley. So we've always felt good about it. Our teachers, our music department does a good job of kind of summarizing what it goes for. We've had a lot of success doing that. And so that's the second thing that the season of giving addresses. And then tomorrow, we also have partnered with Clive Community Services for our annual Toys for Tigers campaign. Social studies classes will go to Target in shifts. They will pool money together. They'll have kind of a wish list that Clive Community Services will provide. We'll purchase some toys. It used to be delivered to Toys for Tots program, but we've since moved and partnered with Clive Community Service. We call it Toys for Tigers, and we again try to focus on our feeder elementary schools and anybody here at Indian Hills that we know could use a little shot in the arm this time of year. So it's kind of a special time of year for us. I think it's kind of shows us at our best, and at the concerts themselves with just the performances, but also kind of the giving nature of our community to lift others up. And it's something we're always really proud of, is this kind of stretch of few weeks here. So believe it or not, we have winter concerts coming up right around the corner, and that will be here before we know it. So we'll take a little breath at Thanksgiving and then sprint to winter break.
All right, thank you so much. Oh, Rebecca has a question. Becky has a question.
Yes, I have a question about this activity tomorrow. I know that you just mentioned that kids could pool their resources together, which sounds great. It feels like there's different information coming from different sources. The daily emails that are going out indicate that kids who don't bring at least $5 are not going to be included. And I know that from talking to my own daughter and a couple of her friends who I gave a ride to last night, different social studies teachers are giving different impressions as well.
Okay.
I know that some kids are under the impression that maybe they can join forces with 2 or 3 kids and buy something. Some kids are under the impression that, they're on their own with the amount of money they bring. And so I guess I wonder about kids being left out of something like this. And I also wonder about kids who maybe only have that minimum of $5. If you've been shopping lately, there's really nothing for less than $4.99. And by the time you have tax, $5 doesn't cut it.
Yeah, so a couple of things there. we'll clarify with all social studies teachers. I sent an email, a clarification email out, because some of those same concerns were brought to me this week from a parent. And so we sent a clarification email out to social studies teachers. Everyone will be included. CPI has actually always provided some cash for teachers to pool. So if somebody doesn't have funds, that there's a process for them to join. Everybody is included. We have over $300 to distribute to anybody that is without money tomorrow, whether they forgot or it's a hardship for their families. Everyone's included. The pooling of money is encouraged no matter what as well. And so you're dead on. We are not, our goal is to not support Clive Community Services with $2.99 gifts. We're very much, the message will be pool your money. Here are some things that Clive Community Services feel is of need to them. Partner up, and we partner with Target where they kind of have things laid out for us as well. And so it's not like they're in a mad rush to go through Target. They have kind of their own little setup there. And so it's, I think all of those things have been addressed, Rebecca, but those are all very good points that we've taken under consideration. We do have a couple new social studies teachers. And I wonder if maybe, their messaging wasn't as clear as maybe some of the ones that have done this in the past, but the ones that we're pretty confident we have this addressed.
That sounds great. Is there a way, the daily email that went out today, I think is probably the biggest. It's been going out every day. That might be one of the bigger culprits in the misunderstanding. I don't know if
Is
there's a way
it our daily announcement? Is it embedded to our daily announcement?
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yes.
I can take a look at the wording of that. I'd be totally transparent. I haven't dissected the wording in that
Okay.
the daily email.
Thank you so much. It sounds good now.
Yeah, you bet. Alyssa, do you have a question? I see your hand
I
is
do.
up.
So I just wanted to clarify. So if I sent my kiddo tomorrow with extra money, he could then make sure kids that are around him or going could join even if they didn't have money or even if they only had a buck or two. That
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. We have a lot of families that do that. And then, like I said, we also have a way where kids can discreetly come to their teacher.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much.
And that's, to be fully transparent, that's always been provided by you. Somebody did drop that off today to me. And so I do have that cash here ready to help students out.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And just want to point out that CPI will be there tomorrow and will help with that money. So yeah, we have that and we're going to be doing some shopping. The kids also at the end will put the change in a bucket, and the CPI does help. We handle all the money for the day.
Because in theory, once it hits our hands, it's a public fund. And so we are not allowed to provide private benefit with a public fund. So we do rely on non-CPI's partnership with this event, and pretty much everything we do that has a private benefit or could be construed as a private benefit. So
yeah. Looking forward to tomorrow.
Yeah, your partnership is appreciated and needed for it. So thank you.
Shane, are you wanting to jump in, or do you have something else before we get to the topic that you want to talk about?
I mean, Zach has done a wonderful job explaining that, and I appreciate his leadership and CPI's leadership in all of these adventures. We try to just do one fundraiser, and we try to, and the parents have really responded. We very much appreciate the dinners that we had for staff during parent-teacher conferences. We appreciate your support during this Feed the Pod and then heading into our season of giving. We couldn't do any of these things without our CPI group and without our parents. And I just can't tell you how invaluable it is. And the things that we're able to do and provide for students are because of this group. And so you're all very, very important. And I just can't thank you enough. I think you're able to see when you listen to the different people talking why we're able to be successful, that we've been doing this for a while, and we're very conscious of making sure all students can participate and that parents are supporting us, but not in a way that is so time consuming that you don't want to be involved. So we just can't thank you enough.
All right, yes, no, I'll go ahead and, so unless there's any other questions on those items, I think we can go right into navigating social media, technology, and sleep. And we could have, and it started with introductions, but if you want to introduce the presenters or have each of you introduce yourselves, that would be great in case we have some families who aren't familiar with you.
Yes, so I'm really excited to have the whole team here, and we really do work as a team and work together, and often administratively and with counselors. That's how we help kids. It's not just punitive, it's everything is a counseling component to it. So today we have Mr. Sinram, the assistant principal, who's here to talk with us. Lindsay Cunningham, one of our counselors, is here. And then Mr. Joe Rich is here also, the other counselor. And Officer Brown, Chris Brown is going to join if he can, and he'll add to it. We've been able to put together a little PowerPoint. We wanted to be really open where we can talk and have conversation as we go through it. So we're going to kind of go off of each other. I have the first section. So we're going to talk about sleep, navigating technology and social media. I'll talk about sleep, and then the others are going to talk about technology and social media and give you some tips. And then also we'll be able to answer a lot of questions. I'm just got my braces off and I have retainers. This is like my day 3. So if I am slurring words, that is not, I can hear it and I don't like it. But I've really been having fun with kids going through this last 2 years of braces and sharing with them the experiences as a 50-something-year-old man. And they have a lot of fun with me in the orthodontist office. But I've been enjoying it, and I'm glad to have a full smile. So anyway, sleep. Sleep is so important, especially at the junior high. And I'm gonna move my little box here so I can see. All right, especially at the junior high level, because our kids have a problem going to sleep, and they have trouble getting up because of it. So all of our students in this grade level need 8 to 10 hours of sleep. And I want you to think about that. They really need closer to the 10 hours of sleep. So if you go back and figure out when are they going to bed and when are they getting up, that kind of makes you pause, because a lot of the students are getting on the bus at 6:45, 6:35, 6:55. So now you back that up. You're looking at 10 hours. You're looking at 10 o'clock for 8 hours. They really need to be asleep before then. But they don't. And the reason that they don't is because their circadian rhythm is set up at this age level to have them stay up later. So it's very hard for them chemically to go to sleep early. They'll want to stay up until 10 or 11 and sometimes later. So every one of those hours they stay up later and we have them get up early leads to some situations that we just as parents need to be, and as educators need to be aware of. And then when we try to make up sleep on the weekend, that's good. It's good for them to sleep in because you're trying to make up the time that they've missed. But it's not the same quality of sleep that they would get if they slept 8 to 10 hours during a normal night. It also doesn't help them with the routine of going to sleep and waking up at the same time. So one of our first tips is try to go to sleep at the same time, try to get up at the same time. And then even on the weekend, within 1 or 2 hours, you want to try to keep that same rhythm. Now, the research is very conclusive that really elementary kids wake up early. They're ready to go to school early than junior high kids than high school. And we're a little bit different. And we had the research study when we did this 17 or 18 years ago. The committee did recommend this order. And then really elementary parents had a lot of concerns about elementary students at bus stops in the dark. And so and then also junior high is 2 years, elementary has 7 years, and the high school has 4. We don't have we don't have enough people to speak up for us. So that we have to do a lot of things because our kids come in sleep deprived. You need to know as parents what you need to do to help students because they are coming in sleep deprived. These are the things that happen. So it is tougher for them thinking and with academic achievement. Tasks become harder when you're tired. So think about that yourself when you're tired. Their emotional health can be compromised if we don't really pay attention to it. Their students can be more likely to be depressed, more likely to be angry. So students who are very good at finding ways to stay up way late and parents don't know they're awake, they can start to have some other issues show up. It also affects their physical growth. And then if they're involved in different other activities, their ability to recover from exercise. Obviously, then your decision-making is not as good and it can lead to some risky behavior. And then can also lead to accidents and injuries. So you can see some different references that we're using with this research. We talk to the kids about it. This is a lesson for Tiger Time. We want kids to know that they need to be conscious of the amount of sleep they're getting. And these are the things and the things that happen if they're not able to stay on it. Obviously, the most common reason that students stay up too late is technology. So being on their phones, having their phones in their room, have video games in their room, and being involved in social media. These are things that can get in the way of the students having a lot of sleep. So what do we do about it as parents, and what do we recommend? And I can have counselors join or anybody in here as we go, but really we recommend a pretty consistent nighttime routine. Students should really think about making sure they get at least 8 hours of sleep, and parents can help with that. The things that also hinder students being able to go to sleep, caffeine, having pop, energy drinks, which kids just love. Those things make it harder to go to sleep. Electronics, the flickering of the computer and the cell phone, it takes 30 minutes to recover from that. So for you personally too, if you're living on TikTok before bed, then it's going to take you 30 minutes to kind of get your brain where you can go to sleep. So getting rid of electronics before bed, a good 30 minutes before, having a place that those electronics live that are not in the student's room is a really good thing that we recommend. Some students use their cell phones as their alarm clock. Then they need to be able to set up in their phone for the silent mode, the do not disturb mode, so that they don't have dinging going on in the middle of the night that wakes them up and disrupts their sleep. So having a dark place to sleep, having their bedroom be a place just for sleep, not for all that other activity, is really good to help them sleep better.
And to go along with that, one of the things that we talked about when we were planning this out, one trick that has worked for me with my kids is I actually bought a multi-port charging station and installed it in a drawer, my old junk drawer in my kitchen. And so now it's go charge your phones, right? So they think that they're doing something that's benefiting them by going and charging it, but then it's not in their room, and it's off their hands. And I make them do that before we go to sleep. One of the points to what Shane was saying is, I've told my kids at times, put your phones away. We can watch a show or turn on a football game if you want. And they'll argue with me, well, how's that any different? TikTok is one of the, the leading forms of entertainment on their phone right now. And what I talk to them about is it's the pace of the TikTok and the social media, where it's short bursts, click here, scroll, click. And so it's not, all screen time is not equal. Those ones that require your constant attention and constant flicking, that's even worse than just staring at something that's maybe a little bit longer, that's not as interactive. So my kids will turn on a TV and have their phone out at the same time, and that's like where I would lose my mind. Okay, we're putting the phone over there and charging it. Pick one screen at a time.
They think they want to be multitaskers, and we're raising a lot of multitaskers, but the problem is they don't multitask very well. And so we even see that here at school. We have to be very conscious of them not multitasking and how many tabs they have up. And anyway, we could go down this path and talk about a lot of it. Anybody else want to talk anything more about sleep, or you have a question about sleep? I'm presenting, so I may not see a raised hand. So Joe or Lindsay, feel free to.
I just had one question. This is Alicia. We have some things that are before school, even at Indian Hills. I don't know. I know my son participates in jazz band and that's before school. I don't think we have a lot before school, hopefully, but just curious if there's been any thought because of this to not have things before school or find alternate times for those type of activities.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's, there are a few things that happen before school, not many. Most of the things we do are after school. If you were at Stillwell, most of their activities are before school. And we just really have tried not to do that. And I'm not knocking them. I just have had one of mine at Stillwell and one here. And you know, it works for them. They're already up, they just get it done. And so we try to go after school, and that means there's a lot of things going on after school. And we try to figure out how to share students. We want all students to have the ability to try everything while they're in junior high, because when they get to high school, they have to kind of specialize.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem with having everything after school is that you're competing for the same kids. And traditionally, and I'm not talking about in West Des Moines, I'm talking kind of everywhere. Music classes have often been before school to avoid participating with the athletics that's after. But when we're as early as we are, that's tough.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to go to the next topic, navigating technology. I think that Lindsay or Joe are going to kind of jump on this one. Okay.
Yeah, so obviously we know, I mean, technology isn't going away, right? So we just kind of have to figure out how to navigate it. It's necessary for school, it's necessary for work, but it leads to a lot of good opportunities to have conversations with kids about it, about how to use it appropriately. And like Dr. C said earlier, this is directly from a lesson that we taught to kids last week in our Tiger Time. So it's a good thing to have, but we also are seeing impacts of that on kids and adults too. So shortened attention span, talking about going from your phone to the TV, back to your phone, back to a different app, that their brain is constantly focusing on something different. And with that, the more time that we spend on technology, we're seeing like weakened social skills and communication of face-to-face, and students don't necessarily know how to solve a conflict without putting it on social media and then dealing with the repercussions of that. So, and a lot of that is from it's difficult to read emotions when you don't have a lot of face-to-face interaction and it's all through a screen. And then with that comes increased depression and anxiety and mental health concerns, just because we are having difficulty with an image or conflicts constantly with other people. So how you can help. As parents, just talk with your kids about limiting or setting times on their technology. So what are you spending your time on? Is it appropriate for you? Is it appropriate for everything else that you have going on in your life? And the American Academy of Pediatrics says 2 hours or less per day. And really, like if I look on my own phone, sometimes I'm kind of shocked at what was my average for, my phone per day this week. And if you go look on your phone, like some days would really, I think, surprise a lot of people. And then when we're talking about that with just us, think about kids who are on their Chromebooks during the day for class because they have to, plus before and after school on their phones, talking to their friends. Like all of that is part of life, but just really helping them be mindful of what they're spending time on, and also modeling for them as adults of, hey, put your phone down, let's do something away from technology, let's play a game, let's go outside, let's have a conversation and things like that. So and brainstorm with your kid on what a fun activity might be in putting phones away. We've talked about doing an unplug day here soon at Indian Hills where Chromebooks are away, phones are away. We're going to spend a day old school, what we grew up doing, but pencil and paper, let's talk, let's do a lesson that way. So that's coming up. We'll send communication about that, but just have conversations with your kids and help them come up with a plan together and help find a balance together. There are a couple ways that you can monitor this on your phone and on your student's phone. One for iPhones in particular is listed here. If you go to settings, you can check out the screen time and it'll actually send you a weekly report if you turn that on your phone, where I think mine comes up every Sunday, maybe, of just like, here's your daily average for this week. And it'll tell you if you've gone up or down, or just where you're at. And that is a really good way to drive a conversation with your student about the impact that that's having on them, and maybe help them set a goal to reduce that time. Just leads some good conversations just with a lot of kids. Even when we do that lesson, they look at that and they go, whoa, that's way higher than I thought it would be. And then also have that conversation, just create a space where they know expectations from you about what to expect on technology in their phones and social media, and just what that looks like using it appropriately. I don't know if anybody has anything to add to that, but feel free to jump in.
All right, sorry, I think I muted or unmuted. Anyway, so one of the things with TikTok that I mentioned earlier, there is, and you can Google it, there is a way on TikTok that you can go into, they call it digital well-being. You can go in and restrict some things on there, including the amount of time per day. Now, with that being said, kids can find their way around it, but it's it's actually, I think, a pretty significant amount of time that before it'll kick a kid off. But there are ways to kind of monitor and limit what they're doing on there as well. So for this next thing, this next slide, Lindsay, I don't want to step on your toes here if you're gonna talk through here. One of the things that you can go down a rabbit hole with, and we've been guilty of in the past, is any new social media app that's out there and what all the potential could be. And really, a lot of those never pop up. It's the old tried and true ones. I mean, right now, I think the two leaders are TikTok and Snapchat, and where kids run into the most trouble is Snapchat. That's the reigning champion right now. And it all comes down to the relational stuff that's on there. So if your kids are on it, and it's really hard to avoid having them on there, even if they don't have their own phone, they're experiencing it with their friends who have phones. So the big thing is, it's not like back in the day when you could get away from stuff. The number one problem right now is it's ever present, and even if you're trying to avoid it, you can't if you're looking at your phone, and it's just too hard not to sometimes. So talking to kids about what to do if people are asking for pictures or sending pictures that are inappropriate or make you uncomfortable. What if kids are talking about self-harm on there? What to do about that? What happens when kids are talking about fighting or potential fights? Who to report that to and what to do? What to do when you see bullying on there? Another big thing is recording stuff on phones and passing that along, recording themselves, even if it's not anything that's necessarily salacious, but once they put a recording out there of themselves, you can't get that back. And you might say something or have something said that's taken out of context that ends up coming back and harming you. So not recording others, not using that against people, making sure that you're not recording yourself and sending that on. Also talking, simple things like people that you don't know asking for contact information. And the other thing with Snap is looking at location settings. So if you're not familiar with it, you can, if you have your location settings on, anybody that's on Snap that knows you can look and see where you are. And it's kind of a fun thing to see where your friends are, but it's also a little bit disturbing sometime when, like last summer, we were going to go trying to figure out which pool my kids were going to go to. They didn't want to go to this one because these kids were there, and they wanted, and it's just it's a little concerning that those same kids can watch and see where my kids are. So it's regardless of the app, that's really the kind of conversations you need to have your kids for, not if they come across that stuff, but when they come across it, whether it's on their phones or with their friends on their phones.
Notifications is also on there, and I think it's really important to have conversations around notifications with your kids, but also with yourself. So the way that all of us get sucked in to technology is through the notifications, the little ding, the little vibrate. It's and we're like the Pavlovian, like, oh, what just happened? We have to go look at it right away. And so that takes away our ability to control when we want to look at technology, and also students. And so going in and set up your notifications so that you're not notified, and then you can go and look when you want to. So for me, my best mental health was I had to take email notifications off because I kept seeing that number grow and grow and grow. And I don't like to have any emails that I have not read. And so I had to take that off my phone. And then I want to be told when I get a text, or I want to be told, but when I want a certain type of technology, but not others. For kids, they're leaving it all on. So they're getting different dings and vibrates all the time. And we have to have them actually put the phone in their backpack. Otherwise, that vibration and that ding is more powerful than the teacher teaching. And so that's what we don't want it on their body. And we want them to go in and start to take those notifications off and look at it when they choose to. So you can use technology for creation or for distraction. Be purposeful about when you're using your technology and what for. So at school, we're using it for creation. And we want to choose when we want to be distracted. When do I want to be on my TikTok? When do I want to do those things? So you take control by taking away notifications and keep the ones that you want and in the way that you want them. Sitting down with your kids and going over all of those, because the developers want those notifications on. Anything else anybody would add?
Along with that, I know every time a phone gets an update or an app gets an update, it automatically resets that sometimes. So I know even on my own phone last week, they must have gone through an update and I was all of a sudden getting all these notifications for everything that I'd never gotten before. So it might be helpful to monitor that with your kids and just have a conversation with them. If it starts popping up again, just know that changes constantly.
Yes, I was all of a sudden started getting notifications on Facebook, and I've tried not to be on Facebook very much. I took it back off because I want to get on Facebook when I want to get on Facebook, and I'm just being really purposeful. The next thing we recommend is try to be friends on any app that your kids have. Now, that's easier said than done. So I say, you want an Instagram account? Fine, I have to be your friend. You want a Snapchat? Fine, I have to be your friend. Well, they're getting good about having multiple accounts. So yes, I'm friends with you on your actual, whatever your name is, but I also have another account with a slightly different name that you don't know about. I just want you to be aware that they do that. I still would recommend that you're friends with your kids on any and all apps that they have. And in the end, the phone is your phone. You paid for it. You pay the monthly bill. It's your phone. So you can use parental, shoot, I lost the word. You can use your parental controls. So you go onto their phone and you put in the password so they can't get in and change it. You can restrict it in a lot of different ways. So use that. You can also go into, like Verizon, you can go into your cell phone services and you can restrict it in that way too. So have conversations like, I'm restricting this. I might open it up if I have problems, or if I see that your grades are not where they should be, boom, I restrict it. That is a really good lever to get your kids to do the right thing. Another really good lever is taking technology away. So if you have an expectation, decide what your 3 big expectations are. And if on Friday you see that didn't happen, taking their cell phone and their computers away, their PlayStation away for a weekend, I think you'll see some behavior change really quickly. And if you notice that they're on late at night, same thing, natural consequence. They don't like it, they're going to throw a fit, but they will change their behavior. It is your biggest lever. And if you're not using it, you're missing out. Use it. And it is painful. And then they have to come and talk to you. So they're going to be in your face. And that's going to be an opportunity for you to have do some things with them. I don't know if Officer Brown's here, or if Lindsay wants to talk about it.
Yeah, okay. I don't think he is, but this is a website that he sent to us. If you have specific questions about specific apps I think anyone ever created is on this website that you can do a deeper dive into, just about how to navigate them, what they look like, how they operate. And then it also gives some great, there's a bunch of blogs on there. You could spend forever on this website, but if you're looking for a specific app, check it out. It also gives a rating to each one based on like their safety level or their what they call threat level to parents. So anything in the red, obviously we don't want at all. Yellow could be go either way, and green, it means it's okay. So check that out. There's a ton of resources on there. We could probably spend hours just on that website alone, but if you have a specific question, that's a great place to check out.
All right, that concludes our presentation. We're open to take questions. Do go to that smartsocial.com site. Also know that you have GoGuardian controls for the Chromebook at home. It's not GoGuardian. We use GoGuardian at school. What is it called? Securely. Yeah. So at home, you have a program called Securely that you can control what they're looking at on their Chromebook. Use that. Also, you should get a Securely report on what top sites your student has been on, and look at that and have conversations. At school, we use GoGuardian. They get frustrated with us. We shut down a lot of things. We GoGuardian chat with them. We can even do that when they're at home. So we're watching and trying to help as much as we can. All right, questions?
Can you talk about what the electronic policy is during the school day and in classes, passing time, lunchtime, and also have you looked at other schools of what their policies are and why do we have what we have in place?
Yes. Secondary level is all the same. So you can use your cell phone before school, during passing, and after school. Otherwise, cell phones should not be out and they should be put away. Everything that students need for education is on their Chromebook. They don't need anything on their phone for education. In fact, there's actually a negative effect size, which means you actually have a reduction in learning if your cell phone is out during the class. And so I don't remember what exactly that number is, but I know that it's enough that it could reduce your ability to learn up to a whole school year. So for us, cell phones not being out during school is huge. Everything they need is on their Chromebook. We, as secondary administrators, sat down and we set up the restriction guidelines with our tech department, and we did add more restrictions this year. We still left YouTube, but there were other things that they no longer can get on when they're in the school building, but they still can get on these things with their cell phones. And I think they've figured it out. We're really trying to use the technology for school while you're at school, and then they have the option to do more once they leave school. What we do is if they do get their phone out, we often give a warning and we'll say, put it away. We want them to put it in their backpack or in their Chromebook case. We don't want it on their person, as I've described. The second time we'll take it. We'll take the phone for the period. Sometimes we take the phone for the whole day, but we're always going to get the cell phone back to them before they leave, because we know that parents need to know where the kids are, and they need to be able to get a hold of them. So rarely do we keep it for the whole day, but sometimes we do. For those students who are repeat offenders, every time a cell phone's out, after the warning, we will record it as a minor, and then that list comes in. If we have a student who's a repeat offender, we have what's called cell phone jail. So there's a cell phone jail with our behavior interventionist and one down here in the office. Usually what we do is we take the cell phone in the morning, we allow them to have it during lunch, and then we take it back after lunch until the end of the day. And so for those students, we're trying to help them learn how to manage their cell phone, and then we'll slowly give it back to them. And so that, to the point so that they can use it without us needing to take it. So always in the end, our goal is the same as your goal as parents. How can I teach my students to use technology responsibly? Because we know that they're going to have it when they leave us. So we need to get them prepared to do just that. Is there anything I missed, Alicia, that you asked in that question? I see in the chat there's a program called Q Studio that you could use. Trying to look and see if there's any other messages in the chat. So we'll just kind of keep looking at that. There's different programs that can support you though at home with your home tablets and computers and cell phones, and then also for the Chromebook. Other questions?
So, Alicia, I think you did ask about what do we work with other schools, and one benefit that we have is in our conference, which is basically, the CIML schools. So they have principals meetings regularly, and Mr. Maxwell is able to kind of represent us and ask questions like this. So we get data for this, how to handle certain websites, and they're able to kind of often, I would say we're more aligned than not on pretty much everything.
Thanks, Zach. All right, what other questions do people have? Feel free to put it in the chat, or if you have things that have worked for your family, I would say jump in and share that too. One thing I've noticed in checking phones is that just the level of banter, I guess, between students is just different than I feel like it's been in the past. So maybe talk about when you have phones in jail or in cell phone jail, or when students come in with issues that they've had on social media, like what are you seeing? And if you can speak to like what we as parents should be looking for, and then also just what are the consequences that people can have for things that they do on social media.
You want me to take that one, Shane?
I do.
I noticed your pause time there. So I would say, and I'm probably exaggerating, but 99% of the issues that we have, if there is a conflict, probably somehow, some way, social media has been involved with. I would say that's probably the last couple of years. I think the pandemic has increased probably the amount of chatter and the amount of dialogue between students using that device, and we haven't really got them out of that rut yet. And I think it's going to take some time. It's going to take some collaboration with families, which is why I thought this topic was really timely and appropriate, especially heading into holiday breaks where there's a lot of downtime. And so, yeah, we've definitely had consequences from banter on social media. I think the big thing is that you need to stress to your kid is if there's ever anything that's bothering you, to get to an adult and to tell us, because we sometimes get criticism like, you guys should be monitoring this. Well, yes, we do. We take everything seriously when we get it, but most of screen names and aren't first and last names. There's no Indian Hills filter on Snapchat. If there was, I'd be all over it. But believe it or not, we do have some monitor sites that we've set up on Instagram and on Snapchat, that if things are getting bad and we get to it, that we can address it, especially some of those anonymous websites that we've had in the past. But yeah, that being a bystander of a conflict, being threatening, all those things can have serious consequences, suspensions, and it's happened. It's unfortunate, but it's reality. And it's just another way we have to teach our students to navigate junior high years and high school years is through that. So it's rarely do we see face-to-face conflict here. We just don't. If there's ever an issue, it often stems back to something on social media, and oftentimes on nights and weekends. And so that's another reason why we thought this was a timely topic. And we track all of these minors, as Shane alluded to, with the technology, and that's part of, we met as a PBIS committee yesterday as part of why we want to do this booster with the Unplugged Day. And right now what we're thinking is the first Friday of December. We started this actually pre-pandemic. It was a lot of adults and a lot of kids' favorite day of the school year was Unplugged Day 2019. And Unplugged Day is kind of a national movement, if you will, the first Friday of March. And so we participated that in 2019 for any of you that were here. We sent a little note home and kids loved it. We had little topics to talk about at lunch. I think teachers kind of felt a slower pace. It was probably one of the best days we had that school year, and then the world stopped about 8 days later. But last year was impossible for us to do something like that. And the thought we had is we're going to try it out here in December, and if we need to do it regularly just to kind of reset ourselves and reset our students, it's something we're definitely open to. And so I don't know, that was kind of a long-winded explanation, but does it cause issues? It does. Does it cause headache for me? A lot, but it's just another way that we're educating our students.
One of my favorite things is Mr. Rich likes to join different apps, and then he'll pose as Indian Hills and he'll respond to students when they might get a little off track. He is not doing that 24/7 though. Usually it's if we hear of something, then he'll say, oh, I'm going to go get on. You want to talk about that, Joe, at all?
Well, yeah, I mean, we've got, Zach kind of alluded to the IH monitor sites that we have. And we'll get on, and that way, a lot of times we can message kids directly or accounts that we don't know necessarily always who they are, but that we're investigating, and that if we're turning stuff over to the police, we'll tell them that. So that message usually helps get out there. The irony of that is I'm not on social media myself, so it's always, I mean, it's like watching my mom try to use her phone. You know, it's pretty bad when I get to that point. But I eventually get around to pushing the right button and submitting stuff.
Any other questions?
I know there are questions out there. Hopefully people will be brave or put it in the chat, if nothing else. Oh, good. Becky has a question.
Yeah, first, thanks for just addressing this and being aware. It feels so different from, you know, probably when most of us were this age. It's a lot to try to keep up with. But would you consider, I don't even remember what you called it now, even though it was just a minute ago, but that idea of a technology-free day at school. I mean, if that was sort of kids, you know, a lot of kids' favorite, is it something you would ever consider doing more often? I think that there's obviously, in addition to the no social media and fewer distractions, I think there's such a lot of potential benefit just from the more classic ways of learning, you know, writing things down. And I mean, I think for a lot of kids that has proven to be such a good way to learn. Is that something that you might consider doing more often than once a year?
I think, yeah, definitely. And Zach was alluding to that we may do it more often. It's hard
I'm
for us
sorry,
to
I
do
had
it.
stepped out for a second, so I apologize if I missed that part.
No problem. The other part of it is students are used to typing, so their handwriting stamina is low, and there are some kids who just plain don't write, and that's just a reality of what we live in. And so I don't know if we want to do it a lot, but we could do it in ways that we can still continue to learn. Technology does provide access to learning for a lot of our students. And so it is still important. It's just finding that balance. And right now we do have a little bit of a rebound where people want to go away from technology. And then we have to remember that there are some positives to it. I think the breaks are really good for all of us to have breaks during the day, but also then take a break for a full day, take a break for a weekend. And it's really important for your brain. Daily weekly, taking a break, shutting down the flicker that we are constantly having is so, so important for your brain. And so we do talk about mindfulness, and we have a mindfulness Monday. Part of the reason for that mindfulness Monday is to quiet the brain. There's a lot of kids who just never, this is their new reality, is go, 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 multitasking, boom, 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 boom. So they need to learn some techniques to quiet their brain. And so do we. So the answer is yes, and.
There's a comment in the chat about getting great. It would be great to see kids get outside more. Do you want to speak to about what that looks like at lunch and if there's any other times throughout the day right now?
Yeah, Joe loves that.
Yeah, we for our recess time, we try to get out as much as possible. And I hate the cold the older I get, but man, we're out there as much as possible. To wherever it's bearable. Zach doesn't know this because he'll make fun of me. I actually brought long johns today in case we had to go outside because it was so miserable out there yesterday. But I'm out there freezing like crazy, and we got kids running around in t-shirts and shorts and sweating, and they don't even notice it. But we'll get out there as much as possible, just because it allows kids. When we're outside and we have the room, kids can finish eating and get out there and spend more time out there and run around and interact with each other. And that's when we see, still, especially with our 7th graders, they're not looking at phones then, they are actively engaged. When Iowa does hit and we have to be inside, we still have some opportunities for them to stay active in the gym, but it's more crowded and more condensed, and we do end up with more kids on the bleachers on their phones. So, for their sanity and for our sanity, we push them outside as much as possible.
Well, thank you so much on presenting on that topic. I feel like we've given people opportunity to ask questions, and they definitely know your faces and names if they have questions that come up outside of this meeting. So thanks so much for Shane and Zach and Lindsay and Joe for presenting on this topic. Any other questions outside of this topic for school anyone have before we close? I want to be mindful of our time. Just a couple more minutes left. Linda.
Hi, I was actually just wondering if on Wednesdays, do the children get a fewer number of minutes to eat lunch?
No, they have exactly the same amount of time. So we have encore after lunch on every day except for Wednesday. And so that's how we make up the time difference. But they have the same amount of time to eat every day, and that's purposeful.
Okay, I know there are a couple of times where my daughter has come home and said like she felt like lunch was so short, and she focuses and eats. So I was just curious if Wednesdays were any different.
No, they're not, but encourage her to stay and finish.
Okay.
We do not hustle anybody out. We have some tables, there's some tables that want to get out to recess that eat so fast, I don't know how they do it. But we don't, there's some students where the table's getting up and some are not done, and they kind of look at us and we're like, finish, you're okay. Even at the end of lunch where we're getting ready to transition, we want them to finish.
The
Okay,
one thing
thank
that
you.
I'll say that sometimes we slip on, and like I think yesterday 8th grade was one of them, is when we're outside halfway through the period, we'll blow the whistle for the kids that need to go in and eat at that point. And when we're outside, we allow other kids to as soon as they finish, come outside because we've got the room for them outside. So if we lose track of time, like yesterday, I was 4 or 5 minutes late blowing that whistle. If kids are waiting on me to blow that whistle before they go in and eat, then it's not very frequently, but every once in a while that happens. And yesterday was one of those days. So that's the other thing when kids have brought that up to me. I feel, you know what, if it's time, go. If you know it's time, go up there, or even better yet, remind me that I need to check my phone that's buried underneath 3 layers of warm clothing.
But we will always write a pass too if we do slip up. Like that's been a rare thing. Like we would definitely want them to finish. And my guess is your daughter is a rule follower and wants to make sure she's where she's supposed to be and win, but we want her to take a breath and finish.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? All right. Not seeing anybody else. So thanks so much for everybody for joining us. And our next meeting, I should have had it in front of me. It is February 17th. And I haven't even asked Joe yet, but I'm hoping Joe and Lindsay might be able to come and talk about registration and all of that because we'll be looking at next year's classes already in February or January and February probably.
Yeah, we can talk as we get closer to that. I know at times in past, we've also invited the 9th grade counselors down too to kind of share a little bit of information. I will, just for those that are involved, as we get close to that, I send out information. I always record stuff and I post it on the website, which I'll send out. For those of you who have kids that are in 8th grade, we're going to be doing an intro to that, which is kind of talking about some 4-year planning. It's not actually scheduling for classes, but it's kind of doing the intro to that. All that stuff's posted on my website, and I will send out notifications to parents on there as well. It's not the most thrilling stuff in the world if you're watching it, but it is on there.
Same thing for 6th to 7th. If any of you have 6th graders, about that same time, we'll be doing 6th to 7th and meeting with all those classrooms, and we'll have a parent night then as well. So we'll be sending out lots of info for everybody in February.
Great. Thanks so much. And I know there'll be information about conferences in February coming out as well. So lots of times to interact with each other coming up. So thanks so much. And everybody have a great day.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Alicia.